Hey guys, TripleJ here. I've had friends tell me in the past that I have some interesting and funny stories from my life growing up. So I decided to make a few videos of me just telling you some of these stories. So I hope you enjoy. Let me know if there's a type of story you may want, because I may have one. But for this video, I have 4 different stories from different moments of my past. The first one is one that was somewhat recent when I went shopping with my dad. My dad and I went to the shops to grab a few things that my mum had written a list to get. The first thing we had to get were some drinks. We went to the aisle and I saw the Coke brand was on special and cheaper than the one we usually get. So I say to my dad, "Hey, this is cheaper today." And he just walks right past me. I repeat myself a little louder, "Hey Dad, the Cokes are cheaper today." He decided to come and look. We look at the Cokes and the ones that we usually buy weren't on the shelf. So I offered to ask someone if they have more in the back. My dad agrees and I go look for someone. They tell me that they do and I then ask how many I wanted. I said I would like 5 please. I knew we didn't need that many, but I wanted a couple of extra just for myself. I usually get the no sugar, but I just forgot to ask for it. My dad comes around to find out what's happening and I say, he's going to get some for me. I asked for 5 so I can get a couple more for myself, just forgot to ask about the no sugar. My dad says, "Oh, okay," and starts walking off with the trolley. I then say, "Dad, he's going to be back in a second. Can you just wait so we can put the drinks right into the trolley?" And he starts walking away. So I have to say louder once again, "Dad, wait here for a second so we can put the drinks straight into the trolley." He points at the meat that's not very far away and says, "I'm just heading over there." I then say, "Well, you didn't say anything. You just started walking." The worker comes out with a box of the drinks and I point to the trolley. The worker then asks my dad, "How many do you want?" And my dad says, "We're only looking for 3." The worker puts the drinks in the trolley before leaving and I say to my dad, "What the hell? Were you even listening to me?" He looks at me confused and I rub my eyes in frustration saying, "I told you I asked for 5 because I wanted a couple of extra for myself." He then says, "Oh, I thought you said you were getting your own." I just sigh and tell him, "I'm going to quickly look at the price of something. I'll be right back." He says, "Okay," and continues looking at the meat. I walk off to check the price of an item which was like 2 aisles away. I get back to the meat section and my dad is gone. I have to then start looking for him. And when I finally do, he's over at the butcher's section. I walk up to him and I say, "I told you I was going to be right back. If you were planning on leaving the area, why wouldn't you tell me?" He says, "Sorry, you can have this as an apology." And he puts something into my hand. I look, and it's the customer number he was given at the butcher's. He then looks at his list and goes, "Oh, we forgot to do that." I was confused. So I looked at it, and at the top of the list, it says, "Before you go to shops, please check on mum and dad," which are my grandparents. I just reply with, "Well, I wish I was told." I noticed that we needed to grab some milk, so I offered to go grab it. I grab it and head back to him, and he was heading in my direction, and he says, "I need to grab myself some soup for work." I said, "Alright, I need to grab myself some drinks and someone didn't listen to me." He says, "Alright, I'll meet up with you later." I then go to grab myself some drinks and start heading back to the soup aisle. When I reach there, once again, my dad is gone. I sigh and I just start looking for him, but I can't see him anywhere. So I pull my phone out of my pocket and decide to ring him, and surprise, surprise, he doesn't pick up. I go looking around more, and when I finally find him, he has already paid for his stuff and is starting to leave. I call out to him and he turns and sees me. I say to him, "You could have told me that you were leaving." He replies with, "Oh, I'm leaving now." I just sigh and shake my head and go through the checkout. When I meet up with him, I say, "What the hell? Why wouldn't you tell me?" He says, "You've left before. You've left without saying so before." I immediately reply with, "No, I bloody haven't. Whenever I've gone somewhere when shopping with you and Mum, the first thing I tell you is that I'm going somewhere." He says, "Oh, okay," and then tries to ring Mum to say the shop didn't have any of the chicken tenders. He rings a couple of times and Mum doesn't answer now. I then say, let me try the home phone, and then Dad starts taking about 5 steps away. I then have to repeat myself louder once again, let me try the home phone. He stops and then I start ringing the phone. Mum actually picks up the home phone. I ask her, why didn't you pick up your phone? And my mum, with the most confused voice I have ever heard, replies with, your dad has my phone. I look at my dad and say, Dad, you're an idiot. You have Mum's phone. He just laughs. I then sigh and we finally leave the shops. When we get home, the first thing I say to my mum was, that was frustrating, and Mum just laughs. I then explain the entire situation of what happened to Mum, and when I get to the part of Dad leaving without telling me, he actually yells out to her, saying, I said he does it often as well, and my mum immediately, without missing a step, replies with, no he bloody doesn't. If he goes somewhere, he tells us. That was a situation I had when shopping. The next one is when I went fishing with one of my friends. Like I said, I was fishing with one of my friends and I needed to get myself a drink because we had been there for a while. I turn my back to the water for about 3 seconds and I just hear a... Confused, I turn around and see my friend standing there with a confused look on his face and his fishing rod is missing. It actually takes me a second to pick up on the fact that the rod was nowhere to be seen. It wasn't on the floor. It wasn't like just hanging over the edge of the wharf. It was just straight up gone. And I just say, where'd your fishing rod go? He still has a confused look on his face and he points to the water and says, it fell in the water. Me, just baffled with how normal he was being about it, replied with, how? He just says, well, I was reeling in the fish, and I was about to start getting it out of the water, and suddenly a shark jumped out, grabbed the fish, and pulled my rod in the water. I honestly thought he was full of it, and just trying to make an excuse for dropping my fishing rod in the water. I then realized he had a GoPro camera recording everything, because it was literally his first time fishing, and he really wanted to show his mum footage for the first time he ever caught a fish, and she was in another state at the time. So we decided to look at the footage. I could see him reeling in the fish, and actually was surprised about how big the fish actually was. I was waiting for him to drop the rod when suddenly a shark head actually came out of the water, grabbed the fish, and pulled it under. My friend let go of the rod, and the rod went in the water after it. I just sat there in silence for a few seconds, looked towards my friend and said, I promise to never doubt you again. This next one is a story I've told a few times, but it's one of my favorite stories, to be honest. And it's when I had a bit of a disagreement, I'm going to say, with a sex ed teacher. So when I was in year 6, so about 11, I had to go to a sex ed class, and we had a substitute teacher specifically for teaching us about this particular subject. I knew that the subject was going to be awkward in some situations, but I wasn't prepared for what ended up happening. She was the type of teacher that wanted to bond and connect with the students. So she decided to start by telling a dirty joke. Before she starts the joke, though, she reaches into her bag and pulls out an 8-inch, I'm guessing, because Australia doesn't use that, purple dildo with a suction cup on it, and spins it around while telling the joke. By the way, I'm going to say the joke, and the way I say the joke is exactly the way she said it. Okay? Superman was flying through the sky with a giant erection, and he needed some sexual release. He looked down and saw Wonder Woman sunbathing naked on the roof of a building. Superman thought to himself, I could fly down and have sexual intercourse and leave before she even knows I'm there. And that's exactly what he did. He flew down and had sexual intercourse and flew away in super speed. Wonder Woman sits up confused and says, "What the hell was that?" She then slams the dildo onto my table, causing it to stand straight up on its own, before continuing the joke saying, "Then the invisible man says, 'I don't know, but my ass is killing me.'" She then walks away to the front of the class, leaving the dildo on my table for the rest of the class. At the end of the class, I was just happy to get away from it. So I quickly packed up my stuff and was about to leave when I hear the teacher say, "I accidentally left that on your table. Can you bring that up to me, please?" I just sighed and said, "Fine." I then picked it up with the tip of my thumb and my index finger and held it as far away from me as I could, and quickly made my way to the front of the class. When I got near the front of the class, the teacher said, "Don't worry, I don't use it in the front." I just nod and start to leave. As I reach the door, I hear her call out, "I use it in the back." I nearly threw up. Very noticeably, may I add. I then leave just as fast as I could. When I got to school the next day and opened my locker, I saw the dildo in my locker with a note from the principal saying, "Your teacher said you forgot this in class. Don't worry, your secret is safe with me." If that wasn't bad enough, I had forgotten my locker key that day. Because yeah, our lockers, they weren't like combinations, they had locks, like keys. And what happens when you forget your key is that the office gives you a key to unlock it, and then some blue tack to help make it look locked to everyone else. But during recess and lunch, some students like to go inside to open lockers from people that forgot their keys, so they can steal from them. So I had to put the dildo in my bag and carry it with me all day, since I wanted to explain the situation to the principal, but they weren't on grounds until the end of the day. When the end of the day came, I went to the office and saw the lady that sits outside and said, "Hey there, I know school is over, but I really need to see the principal. It's kind of important." She replied with, "Sorry, the meeting went longer than planned, so they won't be back today." I really didn't want to take the dildo home with me, so I said, "Is it okay if I just go in to leave a note?" The lady knew me well enough to know that I wouldn't do anything bad when in there. So she said, "Okay, just please be fast." I went into the office, wrote a note, put the dildo on the table, and went home. The next day, I get a phone call from the school saying that I was suspended. And that is when I realized that when I wrote the note, I didn't put it on the table. I put it in my pocket. So when the principal got to school that day, all she saw was a dildo that she put in my locker on her table, and nothing else. I didn't tell my parents about it, and they drove me to the school, and the first thing I did was go see the principal to explain everything. Luckily, I wasn't punished, and I was promised that the sub would never be hired again. The next year, I had to go through sex ed once again. Every student has to do it 2 years in a row because year 6 and 7 are connected. And the teacher had a plastic banana. I thought it was weird, but it can't be as bad as what happened before. The teacher then took the top off the banana and pulled out a plastic penis from inside the banana, and said, "We're going to learn how to put on condoms." I immediately grabbed my phone and messaged my dad saying, "I need you to get me out of school now." He replied, "Why? Is everything okay?" All I said is, "I'm in sex ed and it's happening again." He just says, "I'll be there soon." And my dad actually showed up to take me from the class and took me home. This last story of mine was about a situation I had with a bully where I think the bully. Actually, I'm not going to say, I'll let the story surprise. I was at school and there was a group of kids that always harassed me for no reason. And just over the smallest things. One day I saw them picking on a kid that was very openly gay. Not that this kid could hide it. I decided to help the kid because he looked like he was about to cry and I just hate seeing people upset. So I walked over and draped my arm around the kid and said, "Hey sweetie, are these guys bothering you?" The kid just looks at me, confused. And I moved my eyes to him, back to the bullies a couple of times. And in my mind, that meant just go with it. And luckily, he actually got my message. The kid looks at them and then back at me and says, "No, everything's okay now, thanks." I look back at the bullies and say, "Well, now that everything's sorted out, you can go on your way." One of the bullies gets clearly frustrated and starts yelling a bunch of crap at me, like fag and other not very creative insults. All I said back was, "Well, lucky for me, someone like you is not my type." The bully got a different kind of look on his face, like he was insulted, and says, "What the fuck is that supposed to mean? I could have anyone I wanted. You really think someone like you is too good for someone like me?" At this point, even his friends are confused at what this bully is saying. And I just had to say something. Which was this: "Dude, I'm gonna stop you right there. This is starting to sound really gay. And that's coming from me." He just stands there in silence and says, "Prove you two are a thing. Kiss or something." I look confused and say, "Listen to the big homophobic macho man over here. He literally just asked two gay guys to kiss for him. You better double check your surroundings because I think he just found Narnia." The bully was not budging, so I just gave the kid a little kiss on the cheek. Remember that I did not know who this kid was at the time. And the kid does this cutest little shy reaction. I'm not going to deny that. It was adorable. And I said, "There, you happy now, close case?" He just huffed and walked away. The kid thanked me, and then I just left. I ran into the kid every now and then at school and would say hi and ask how I was going with the bullies. He always said that he was doing better and would thank me again for helping him. I found out a couple of years after I left school that after that situation, the kid actually gained a little crush on me and often referred to me in rainbow armor, which I just found funny, to be honest. But now that I think back on it, the reaction he had to that kiss on the cheek was probably genuine. Anyway, those are a few little stories from my past. I hope you guys enjoy, and like I said, if you guys have any specific types of stories you may want to hear, or if you've heard me tell a story in the past when gaming with you or on the stream or something and you want me to retell it, because a couple of stories I've told some friends in the past, but when I was writing these stories out, I remembered certain things that I hadn't told them, like, because I just couldn't remember at the time. So who knows, maybe there's something more to a story I've already said. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in whatever it is I make next. Bye 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 bye.